In the schoolyard, two dumb boys were seen beating a student named Jiang Junwoo, while a girl, Sunga, sat in front of them, casually drinking her yogurt. One of the boys who was hitting Junwoo told the other to continue, and the second boy replied that he would go one more round before both of them began hitting him even more. One of them remarked that Junwoo was such a strange boy and pointed out, laughing, that he had already started sprawling on the ground. The other leaned toward Junwoo and, in a taunting way, asked if he wasn't going to get up, telling him that they weren't finished yet, and mocking him by telling him to stay right where he was. Junwoo, who had been enduring the bullying, kept pleading for them to stop, but instead of listening, they continued and went on accusing him. Suddenly, a boy named Hyunshul appeared, calling out to the two bullies and telling them that they could stop there. One of them responded that they were only just getting started and that there was still more to do. Hyunshul told them that lunchtime was almost over and that they could continue once the lunch break ended. Both boys burst out laughing, agreeing with him, and then turned to look at Junwoo while saying that it was true. Junwoo lay there looking completely helpless. Hyunshul glanced at him and said that they would play more with him later when they were done. After saying that, the three boys began walking back toward the school building. One of them asked the others if they wanted to go to the internet cafe after class, and another agreed. Hyunshul laughed and also said he was fine with it. Once they had gone, Sunga stood there watching Junwoo, who remained in the same spot, helpless, with injuries all over his face. She then placed the yogurt bottle in front of him and told him that she hated this yogurt even though it wasn't anything special, yet somehow it tasted good. She said that it never felt like it was over instantly, and instead, whenever she felt like she had just started drinking it, it always made her feel strange. She then asked him if he could feel the same way. He remained seated there, still looking completely shocked and unable to gather his thoughts when she continued speaking to him. She told him that this was exactly that he resembled, saying that he was just like yogurt. She explained to him in a calm but firm voice that even though the feeling might be strange or uncomfortable now, that was how yogurt worked too. She reminded him that they were all already in the second semester of their fourth year, and that if he could somehow endure just a little longer, only one more semester, they would finally graduate. She told him that once they graduated, he would be free from all of this. She asked whether he had ever thought about it that way, and said that he should try to hold on just a bit longer. She added that after graduation, they would no longer see each other anyway, so he only needed to endure until then. After that conversation, Junwoo headed back to the hostel. The hostel was part of a small neighborhood inside the campus where most of the students who lived alone stayed. Inside his room, one of his friends, Heo Youngho, was sitting right in front of his computer screen. Youngho was clicking through several images of different women on the monitor, comparing them one by one and muttering to himself that it might be one woman or maybe another. When Junwoo walked up behind him, he told Youngho that he didn't understand anything he was talking about. Youngho quickly told him to wait for a minute, insisting that there was something important he wanted to show him. He explained that a special type of job existed on campus, a woman who sold yogurt exclusively to the college students who lived alone in that neighborhood. He added that she personally delivered the yogurt by walking around from building to building. Junwoo told him that he had probably picked up some pointless and exaggerated rumors. Youngho firmly insisted, though, that it was real this time. And he said there was a particular rumor about this yogurt lady that everyone kept talking about. While Youngho spoke, Junwoo kept thinking that the rumor about the yogurt lady was just another meaningless story circulating among students. Still, he remembered hearing once that one yogurt lady set aside yogurt specifically for male students who lived alone, which made him pause for a moment. Just as they were talking, someone came up to their door and rang the doorbell, calling out to ask whether anyone was inside. The voice sounded unfamiliar, and the tone suggested it might be someone delivering something. When Junwoo approached the door and opened it, he saw a woman standing outside holding a bag, and it immediately looked like she could be the yogurt delivery lady Youngho was talking about. He greeted her politely, telling her welcome, unable to hide how amused and surprised he was to see her. The woman looked at him with a warm expression and introduced herself by saying that she was the yogurt lady. He told her that yes, he needed the yogurt and thanked her politely, expressing his usual appreciation for her work. She asked him in a calm, routine tone whether he needed just one pack of yogurt that day, and he replied that one pack was right. As he stood there in the doorway, the thought crossed his mind that it had already been 3 full weeks since Miss Sohee had started delivering yogurt to him. She responded with a simple "all right," and leaned slightly toward her bag, saying that she would take it out for him. He watched her as she opened the bag and began searching inside for the yogurt bottle. While she did that, he kept thinking about everything Young-ho had told him earlier. He wondered whether those things could really be true. According to Young-ho, there was a yogurt lady who delivered only to students living alone in the neighborhood. If that rumor had any truth to it, then Miss Sohei might very well be one of those yogurt ladies. And if that was the case, then the stories circulating among the students about the yogurt lady weren't just meaningless gossip. They could be about her. She eventually pulled out the yogurt and handed it to him, saying, "Here it is." As he received it, he continued looking at her with uncertainty, his thoughts tangled between curiosity and embarrassment. He debated with himself in silence, thinking that he should probably ask her directly. Yet at the same time, the idea of asking her felt awkward, especially if she wasn't the person the rumors described. He told himself that it would be embarrassing, but still, a part of him felt that if he didn't ask now, he might keep wondering. While he was lost in thought, she turned slightly and told him that she would get going now. Realizing he was running out of time, he quickly called after her, saying, "Miss Sohei," stopping her before she stepped away. In a hesitant but sincere voice, he asked whether she would like to come inside for a little while. She turned back to him with a surprised expression. He quickly tried to explain himself, telling her that he was always grateful for the deliveries she made, so he wanted to offer her a cup of coffee. He added that there was also something he wanted to ask her, trying to sound casual even though he felt flustered. She continued standing there with a confused look, then told him that it was the end of her shift and she needed to return soon. Hearing that, he asked if that was so, and then, unable to keep himself from it anymore, he mentioned that he had heard from his friend that yogurt ladies provided a certain special service. She looked genuinely startled when she heard him mention the special service, as if the phrase caught her completely off guard. Seeing her reaction, he hurried to explain himself, saying that he meant that he would buy more yogurt, and he asked whether he could request that special service through his order. She stood there frozen for a moment, processing his words, and then finally responded by saying that she thought he must be referring to the new product sampling service. Her explanation surprised him, and before he could make sense of it, she added that she felt bad because the event had already ended the previous week. He stood there in disbelief, thinking that there was no way that was exactly what the rumors had been referring to. She apologized again, saying that she should have told him earlier, but she was always like this, forgetful and late with information. She assured him that if another event came up in the future, she would make sure to come properly prepared next time. At that moment, he realized just how badly he had misunderstood everything and felt that he had completely embarrassed himself. She told him that she would see him next week, and then turned around and headed on her way. After she left, he went back inside the room, grabbed all the yogurt packs he had stored, and began shouting to himself in frustration. He called Heo Young-ho a strange man, saying that Young-ho was truly weird and that he did nothing but spread ridiculous rumors. He complained that he should never listen to that chatterbox again. Standing there, he regretted bringing up the topic at all. The thing that bothered him even more was the fact that he hated yogurt to begin with because it constantly reminded him of someone who used to drink it all the time. If it hadn't been for that woman's persistent visits, he wouldn't have bought yogurt at all. He remembered how, at first, he found the door-to-door sales annoying. He had told her no several times and even insisted that he didn't want to buy anything. But eventually, he found himself getting used to the routine. Sohei would come to his place regularly, asking if he had been doing well and saying that she just wanted to give him one yogurt bottle. And whenever he asked about the prices, she patiently explained them to him. She always came with a bright smile, behaving with such warmth that it never made sense to him. He thought that someone as pure and pretty as her wouldn't be involved in anything physical or inappropriate like the rumors suggested. Still, a small part of him wondered if the rumors were somehow true, whether he would end up doing some cardio training with her, just as the stories described. Returning to the present moment, he jolted awake from his dream, his mind still tangled in the leftover embarrassment and confusion from the memories that had resurfaced. His heartbeat had not fully settled when a sudden knocking sounded at the door. The unexpected noise startled him, and he sat up straight, blinking in confusion. He raised his voice slightly, asking who was there. When he finally opened the door, he was met with a sight that caught him completely off guard. A different yogurt lady stood right in front of him, smiling brightly as if this were a perfectly ordinary visit. She looked at him carefully and asked whether he was a student, her tone polite but clearly practiced. Without waiting long, she asked if he might be interested in applying for yogurt delivery, saying that she could recommend a type that was extremely good for his health. He quickly told her that he was already receiving yogurt deliveries. However, she brushed off his answer with cheerful persistence, telling him that it was perfectly fine to receive more than one delivery service. She mentioned that since he was constantly studying and attending classes, it would actually be beneficial for him to consume plenty of probiotics. Then, leaning slightly closer, as if sharing something confidential, she said she had something particularly good available, and if he signed up, the yogurt lady providing the delivery offered a special service. Hearing that phrase again made him uneasy. He responded by saying he didn't want any free samples and politely asked her to leave. He began to close the door, but she quickly grabbed onto it with one hand, stopping it from closing. She told him not to act that way, insisting that he absolutely wouldn't regret the offer she was making. He repeated himself, trying to sound firm but still polite, saying over and over that he was fine and didn't need anything else. She let out a small exhale as if realizing that simply talking wasn't enough to convince him. With a lowered voice and a knowing expression, she told him that he must not have heard the rumor about the special service yogurt ladies supposedly provided for men who lived alone. Before he could react to her words, she reached out, grabbed his hand, and suddenly placed it against her balloon. The moment his hand touched her arm, a jolt of shock went through him. The yogurt lady began asking him whether the service was something he would naturally be drawn to, speaking as if she already knew the answer. Junwoo listened to her carefully and started to realize that the rumors he had heard were actually true. She went on explaining that students who lived alone received an exclusive discount, where the price dropped from 25,000 to 22,000 won, along with many mileage benefits. As he listened, it finally became clear to him that this woman was the very person everyone had been talking about in those rumors. She then asked him again if he genuinely wanted to register, reminding him in a confident tone that she had already said she would personally make sure he received the service. He looked surprised by the way she spoke so assuredly. She also looked at him with the same calm expression and mentioned that it must be stressful for a student to attend school, study, and take exams, and that having everything taken care of at once would feel like killing two birds with one stone. She added that it felt a little strange for them to continue talking at the doorway, especially because the weather was so hot, and suggested that they should go inside the house to discuss things more comfortably. He responded by saying that it was fine and asked her to come in, and the two of them walked into the house together. Meanwhile, at the park, Romy was sitting alone, looking absorbed in her phone. She complained to herself that she had gone all the way to the liberal arts building, only to realize she had made a mistake because it was actually a holiday. As she scrolled through her phone, she stared at Junwoo's contact, noticing that she had already sent him many messages, yet he had not replied to any of them. She began calling him, mumbling that she should have just phoned him earlier instead of waiting. At the same time, on the other side, Junwoo's phone started ringing, but he was too occupied with the workout session with the yogurt lady to notice it. He picked up the call, and Romy immediately asked him if he could talk at that moment. He replied that he could, asked her if something was wrong. She explained that she had called to question him about his recent actions and to ask whether he was free. She wondered if they could meet, and she reminded him that he hadn't eaten yet. She suggested that they should eat together and told him that she would treat him that day. However, he apologized and said that even though he wanted to go, he was extremely busy at that moment, so he couldn't accompany her. She kept insisting that he should come, saying that they should have gone on a date by now. She added that if he couldn't go right then, they could go later instead. She suggested that they could at least get some drinks that night and that she would even come to his place. But he told her again that he was very busy and said that he would end the call and talk to her later. After apologizing, he hung up. Romy stood there in complete surprise when the call ended. She thought to herself that it was terrible, especially because she had already made her feelings obvious to him. Yet he still wouldn't give her a chance. She felt frustrated, thinking that he was completely idiotic. Romy was actually his junior in college. Later, after he finished the wrestling battle with the yogurt lady, she told him that she had really enjoyed herself that day. She thanked him for applying for the yogurt deliveries and told him that if he ever missed her, he could call her anytime. She said that as long as it was him, he would always be welcome. After saying this, she walked toward the door, said goodbye to him, and he responded while sitting there drinking the yogurt, saying, "Yes, goodbye." She then stepped out of the room and closed the door behind her. After that, he lay down on the bed, thinking about how he had actually had a good workout session that day. He hadn't expected anything since he believed it was only a rumor, but he still couldn't believe that he had just done it with someone he had never imagined doing it with. He thought that this situation was going to be a problem for him because he had impulsively applied for 2 yogurt deliveries. He admitted that he had been looking forward to meeting Miss Sohee, but unfortunately, she hadn't appeared. He wondered whether it would be better for him to cancel one of the deliveries. In the afternoon, Sohei was sitting on a bench, slowly eating a cup of yogurt while trying to cool herself down. She kept thinking that the weather was becoming unbearably hot, much more than she had expected for that time of the year. While she was lost in her thoughts, another yogurt lady suddenly appeared beside her. The woman commented that Sohei was absolutely right, that even though it was still only early summer, the heat had already become this intense. She added that if the temperature was this bad so early in the season, then they were all going to suffer even more later. As she said this, she sat down next to Sohei in a relaxed manner and pulled out a cigarette, lighting it before taking a slow drag. As she exhaled, the yogurt lady casually mentioned that a lot of people who lived alone had started canceling their deliveries recently. Sohei looked at her with surprise, not expecting such news. The woman continued speaking, explaining that competition among the yogurt delivery businesses was extremely fierce these days. She pointed out that it wasn't like the old times when there were only 1 or 2 delivery ladies in an area. Now there were many, and each of them was trying hard to attract customers. She said that if one delivery lady didn't offer extra services or something special, her customers would quickly move on to someone else. She told Sohei that she needed to think about that seriously, especially if she wanted to keep her position secure. After finishing her point, she asked what she thought about the situation. Then the yogurt lady leaned a little closer and lowered her voice, saying that she had a special secret that helped her keep her customers loyal to her for a very long time. She insisted that she could teach Sohei a little bit about it. Even though Sohei came from a different business background, the lady claimed she could still give her some guidance, especially because competition was getting harsh. But Sohei immediately refused. She told the woman that she was managing things well in her own way and that she didn't want to rely on anyone else's methods. After saying this firmly, she stood up from the bench and said that she would get going now. The yogurt lady looked at her and asked whether she was leaving already. Sohei nodded and explained that she still had some deliveries left for the day. As she began to walk away, she politely wished the woman good luck with her work. The yogurt lady responded with the same phrase, but as she did, she muttered under her breath that it was pointless to work hard for hundreds of days, because in the end, she would be the one taking all of Sohei's customers anyway. A few days later, Junwoo arrived at his building. He felt exhausted as he climbed the stairs to his room, thinking about everything he still needed to do. He told himself that he didn't have enough time to properly study for his exams or finish his assignments. Although he had barely submitted them on time, he felt like he hadn't done them well at all. He realized he hadn't even eaten dinner because the stress had left him unable to concentrate or understand anything. He decided that once he got home, he would eat whatever he could find, even if it wasn't much. But as he reached closer to his door, he noticed someone standing in front of it. In his mind, he complained that he would rather drink than eat anyway, and he thought that he might just go out later to have a drink and clear his head. However, when he actually saw who the person was, he froze for a moment. It was Miss Sohei standing right in front of his door. She greeted him and mentioned that this was usually the time he finished school. She told him that she had rung the bell several times, but no one had come to the door. He was standing there, a little hesitant, looking at her and asking the reason she had come at this hour. She replied calmly, saying that she would get straight to the point without wasting any time. After saying that, she handed him a surprisingly large number of yogurt packets. He froze for a moment, completely taken aback by the sheer amount she had brought. She explained that this was the special service she had mentioned to him before. She admitted that she had been thinking about it for some time and realized that perhaps she had not been giving him enough of her service before. As a result, she had decided to bring these extra yogurts as a small token, hoping that he would continue supporting her deliveries. Her tone was polite but firm, showing that she took pride in her work and genuinely wanted his continued trust and support. He hesitated, then quietly told her something that caught her completely off guard. He said that, in fact, he had been meaning to tell her that the next time she came, he would like to cancel his regular yogurt deliveries. The words hit her like a shock, leaving her momentarily speechless. Her eyes widened in surprise, and she asked immediately the reason he wanted to cancel so suddenly, struggling to mask her disbelief. She reminded him gently but firmly that he had been receiving all the deliveries she had made so far without ever complaining or refusing them. He looked at her and explained carefully that the reason was simply that he no longer needed the deliveries. She frowned slightly, her mind racing. She was asking if he was canceling because she had not been providing good enough service, or because he was dissatisfied in some other way. He quickly shook his head, speaking sincerely, and assured her that it wasn't because of her service. He confessed that he actually didn't like yogurt much in general and had been receiving the deliveries out of habit or convenience. He apologized earnestly, expressing regret for any disappointment caused her. For a few moments, she stood there silently, trying to process everything. Then, unexpectedly, she asked him if he wanted to drink a beer. He looked at her in genuine surprise, startled by the sudden change in tone. She smiled faintly and said that she would buy the beer for him, adding casually that she also wanted to have one herself. At night, Sohei and Junwoo went to a bar to have a drinking session, and as soon as they settled in, they began drinking beer together. Sohei remarked that the drink was really great, saying it hit the spot perfectly. She added, with a teasing tone, that perhaps it was because Junwoo was drinking with her that day, implying that his company made the experience better. Junwoo, sitting across from her and observing her cheerful yet slightly unsteady demeanor, asked if she was truly, noting that she seemed pretty drunk already. So he reassured him, smiling and insisting that she was fine. She explained that she didn't think there could be a better day to drink than today, especially since she had been dealing with an unusually difficult day, and drinking like this felt almost necessary. Feeling a bit guilty, Junwoo expressed that he was sorry, explaining that he felt partially responsible for everything that had happened. He mentioned that he had wanted to help her with the deliveries, but circumstances had prevented him from doing so. Sohei, however, calmly told him it was okay. She explained that clients had the freedom to cancel their deliveries whenever they wished, and that it wasn't something she could control. She continued, saying that even if it hadn't been his fault, it was common for deliveries to be canceled from time to time. Then, with a hint of playfulness, Sohei added that it was just a little unfortunate that he had had to cancel his services. She admitted, almost as if confessing, that he was quite her type. Junwoo, completely taken aback by her words, choked slightly on his drink and started coughing. Sohei laughed at his reaction, teasing that it seemed the alcohol was really hitting her. She went on to say that whenever she looked at him, it reminded her of her children, implying that his maturity and demeanor struck her in the way her children would. She expressed that it would be wonderful if her own kids were as responsible and composed as he was. Junwoo, now thoroughly confused, asked her directly if she really had children. She laughed softly, asking if he really thought someone of her age wouldn't have any, and then revealed with a warm chuckle that she had 2 fully grown children. Junwoo, trying to process the revelation, apologized immediately, admitting that she didn't look like someone who had children at all, and that it was very surprising for him to learn this. So he smiled at his reaction, explaining his words that he saw her as youthful, which she found flattering. Junwoo, still astonished, laughed in agreement, thinking again about the fact that she had 2 grown children. It was difficult for him to reconcile the image of her youthful presence with the reality of her motherhood. As their conversation lingered on the topic of age and life experiences, she asked about his age. He mentioned that he would be turning 21 that year. So he complimented him warmly, saying that his mother must be incredibly proud to have such a handsome, considerate, and thoughtful son. She added that it would be wonderful if her own children were as thoughtful and considerate as he was. Junwoo, somewhat bashful, said that it wasn't really like that at all and admitted that he never really listened to his mother. So he laughed gently, remarking that he was clearly being modest and that it wasn't entirely true, but that it was fine, and they could leave it at that. So he then returned the conversation to the earlier topic of the canceled delivery, remarking that it was unfortunate he had had to cancel. She reassured him, saying that their drinking session could balance things out, implying that they could consider it even. She added that she still came to this place frequently, so he should make sure to greet her if they ever saw each other again. As she poured more drink into his glass, she reminded him warmly that he should let her know if he ever wanted any delivery again, because she would always welcome him. He smiled and told her that he would definitely do as she suggested, addressing her politely as Miss Sohei. After their initial conversation, Sohei began to feel dizzy. The sensation grew stronger, and she hurried to the restroom where she started throwing up. Concerned, Junwoo immediately went to her side to check on her, asking if she was really okay. He commented, as he had expected, that she had probably been drinking too much. Sohei stood there looking very pale and faint, apologizing quietly for causing worry. Junwoo reassured her that it was fine and urged her to try to stand up carefully, advising her to wait a bit while he called a taxi for her. He then pulled out his phone, checking something quickly, and asked about her address, presumably to make sure she could get home safely. Sohee, still holding his phone back in her hands, gently refused, saying that she didn't want to go home yet. She expressed that all she wanted was to drink a little more with him. Junwoo, a little surprised but attentive, asked if she was really sure that it was okay for her to continue drinking. After that, he kissed her. Sohee told him firmly that they could not go any further, and, with a gentle but determined push, moved him aside. Junwoo immediately apologized, explaining that he had momentarily acted without thinking in the heat of the moment. Sohee, hearing this, quickly apologized as well, which took him by surprise. She then clarified that despite his actions, he could not do something like that with someone like her at that moment. She emphasized that their current situation had only arisen because they were both drunk, and suggested that it would be best to pretend the incident had never happened. Junwoo nodded in agreement, acknowledging her point. So he stood there for a while, repeatedly apologizing, her voice tinged with embarrassment but also seriousness, as if she wanted to make sure he understood that the boundary was important. Meanwhile, at home, Hyunchul was in the middle of a wrestling battle with a girl when his sister Sunga suddenly entered the room. She told him to stop immediately and demanded that he change into regular clothes. Hyunchul, clearly frustrated and annoyed, reminded her that he had already instructed her not to come in while he was exercising. Sunga ignored his warning entirely, turning back as if his words did not matter. He questioned her, asking if she was really going to ignore him, and she sharply told him to shut up, adding that he should send the girl out immediately because their mother was home. Meanwhile, Junwoo was carefully carrying Sohee toward her home. Upon reaching the front door, he commented on how barely they had managed to make it, and reminded her that they had arrived at her house. He asked her to wake up, his concern evident in his tone. As they drew closer to the door, he asked her for the password to unlock the house. So he quietly told him the password, and Junwoo entered it. As the door clicked open, he asked her gently if she thought she could manage to stand now. As the door swung open, Sunga was standing there, her expression immediately sharp and scolding. She turned to her mother and expressed her frustration, saying that she had come back home completely plastered. She added that she had been somewhat relieved, thinking her mother might not come back at all, and chastised her, questioning how she could call herself a mother. At the same time, she was overreacting, or her thoughts made her mother seem foolish. Then, as her eyes focused, Sunga suddenly noticed Junwoo standing right there and froze, completely shocked. Junwoo, for his part, was equally stunned to see Sunga in front of him. Both of them were caught entirely off guard, frozen for a moment, unable to speak, each processing the unexpected encounter. The next day, Junwoo went to school as usual. While he was sitting in the classroom, one of his friends approached him and asked if he wanted to go to the internet cafe after school. Junwoo responded politely, explaining that he could not join because he had to attend his cram school that day. His friend nodded in understanding, though slightly disappointed, and then asked him whether he was planning to draw the red anime for him. Junwoo quickly replied that he had no intention of drawing anything like that for him, making it clear that it was not something he would do. As they continued their conversation, two people approached them. It was Sunga and Hyunchul. Hyunchul immediately called out to Junwoo, instructing him to follow him for a moment. Curious and slightly confused, Junwoo's friend asked the reason they were doing this, but Hyunchul only said that he would see him later and did not give any further explanation. Junwoo reluctantly went with them. As they walked, Junwoo asked Hyunchul if there was a problem or if something had happened. Hyunchul, who was visibly frustrated and frowning deeply, began speaking sharply. He called Junwoo a weird man and accused him of acting as if he were unaware that Hyunchul had heard some disturbing and inappropriate rumors. Specifically, Hyunchul confronted Junwoo about the rumor that Snunga was supposedly his girlfriend. Hearing this, Junwoo was completely shocked and could hardly believe what he was hearing. Without giving him a chance to respond, Hyunchul grabbed Junwoo by the collar. His voice was intense and threatening as he warned Junwoo not to think of himself as clever or untouchable. He demanded to know the reason Junwoo had come over with his mother, implying that from their recent interactions, it appeared as though they were more than just casual acquaintances. Hyunchul insisted that Junwoo tell the truth if he did not want to get beaten up and pressed him to explain the nature of his relationship with their mother. Junwoo, flustered but determined to be honest, explained firmly that he had no such relationship with her. He clarified that she only came to deliver yogurt to his house and that they simply greeted each other politely, nothing more. Hunchel, however, was not satisfied with this explanation and pressed further, asking about the matter of alcohol. He wanted to know if it was normal for delivery personnel to drink together with their clients. At this point, Junwoo began to lose his temper. He shouted that it was she who had asked him to drink, defending himself and insisting that he had done nothing inappropriate. Hyunchul, now even more furious, accused Junwoo of being insane, saying that their mother had never properly drunk with any of them, yet she had done so with Junwoo. He scolded Junwoo for lying poorly and warned him that their mother was not someone to be taken lightly or deceived. Junwoo shouted back, insisting that things were not at all what Hyunchul was imagining, and that the situation was being misunderstood. The argument was about to escalate further, but Sunga stepped in between them and told them to stop. Hyunchul, annoyed, turned to her and said that she should not have interfered, claiming that Junwoo was lurking around their mother and that it was none of her business. Sunga responded calmly, pointing out that Junwoo himself had clearly said that he did not have any particular relationship with their mother. She argued that, based on his own words, they should believe him. Hyunchul, frustrated and incredulous, called her crazy and asked if she was serious about defending him. Sunga remained firm, explaining that the situation did not make sense if one thought about it properly. She reasoned that it would be highly inappropriate for a mother to be attracted to a man older than herself, making Junwoo's alleged intentions clearly impossible. Finally, Hyunchul decided to let Junwoo go. Still visibly angry, he told him to get lost immediately, saying that even looking at him made him want to hit him. Sunga then instructed Junwoo to follow her. Before leaving, Hyunchul turned back one last time and issued a stern warning that if Junwoo ever tried to lurk around their mother, like he had supposedly done with Sunga in the past, there would be serious consequences. He emphasized that it was none of Junwoo's business to know everything their mother did outside, as long as he stayed out of it. Junwoo complied and left with Sunga. Once they were outside the building, Sunga stopped and stood there, giving him clear directions. She told him that the route she was indicating would lead him to the station and that he should follow it. Her tone was firm, leaving no room for argument, and she instructed him to leave immediately if he understood her instructions. Junwoo was standing there, frozen for a moment, his expression a mixture of confusion and disbelief. He looked at Sunga, trying to understand the reason she had chosen to believe him when so many others had doubted his words. Tentatively, he asked her the reason she trusted him. Sunga looked at him with a sharp, almost exasperated expression and called him an idiot, reminding him that he himself had said that their interaction had only been a simple drinking session. Her tone was both frustrated and matter of fact, making it clear that she thought his question unnecessary. Junwoo stopped her mid-sentence, raising his hands slightly as if to calm the tension. He explained that he was not referring to that situation at all. He clarified that he was talking about the old rumors concerning her from a while back, rumors that had caused a lot of misunderstanding. He insisted earnestly that it had not been him who spread those rumors. Sunga continued to watch him closely. He spoke again, his voice carrying both frustration and desperation. He reminded her that he had told her repeatedly that he was innocent, that it had all been a misunderstanding, yet she had never fully believed him. He acknowledged that it was understandable if Hyunchul and the others did not believe him either, as they had been caught up in the same rumors. He emphasized that those rumors were ultimately inconsequential compared to the truth. He admitted that his main concern now was not to defend himself, but to understand the reason she had believed him despite everything else. Sunga's response was calm but pointed. She told him that it did not matter whether he had spread the rumors or not. Junwoo's eyes widened in shock at her words, and he asked her to clarify her words, clearly struggling to grasp her perspective. She reminded him of the yogurt she had once mentioned, the one she had found strange because it had already been gone by the time she began to enjoy it. She drew a parallel between that experience and the rumors that whether or not he had caused them was irrelevant. The thing that truly mattered was how he had made her feel. Confused, upset, and unsettled, just as the yogurt had left her with a strange feeling despite its absence. She explained that this was the reason she had not intervened when he was beaten up, and her actions had not been influenced by the rumor itself, but by the emotional discomfort it had caused her. Junwoo stood there, completely stunned, as her words began to sink in. A sudden clarity washed over him, and he realized that everything she had said made sense. The realization struck him fully. He finally grasped the truth of the matter and the reasons behind Sunga's behavior, and it hit him with a surprising intensity. The following morning, Sohee woke up in her room, her mind still foggy with the remnants of sleep. She looked around the unfamiliar space, feeling a momentary sense of disorientation, wondering exactly where she was and how she had ended up there. As her thoughts cleared, she remembered the events of the previous night and the drinking session she had shared with Junwoo, and the memories slowly began to come back to her in fragments. Suddenly, Sunga entered the room, her presence immediately commanding attention. She spoke sharply, demanding that her mother tell her the truth right then and there. Sohee was startled by her daughter's sudden appearance and the intensity of her words, and she quickly asked about her words. Without hesitating, Sunga's frustration boiled over, and she began shouting at Sohei, pressing her relentlessly for an explanation about her relationship with Junwoo. Sohei told her that she did not understand Sunga's words. Sunga, in response, asked if Sohei was deaf and insisted that she should explain herself clearly whenever they drank together. Sohei explained that she had only drunk with him on a whim. She elaborated that she had met him while delivering yogurt and had gone to his house the previous night to make the last delivery, but he had said he wanted to cancel it. Feeling guilty, she asked if he would like to drink with her. Sunga listened silently as Sohei spoke. Sohei emphasized that it was just that, but before she could finish her sentence, Sunga interrupted her, saying that she understood the situation and that it was fine since Sohei did not have any particular relationship with that boy. Sohei paused and asked Sunga how she knew Junwoo, questioning whether she already knew him. Sunga revealed that they had gone to high school together and that she, along with Hunchul, used to harass him a lot. Sohei was extremely shocked to hear this. Sunga, noticing her reaction, asked if she wanted her to repeat it. She continued, saying that Sohei's children used to beat up the odd Junwoo and warned her not to get involved with him from now on, as it would not bring any good. She then asked her mother if she had understood everything. Later in the evening, Sohei went to his house wearing her yogurt delivery uniform, and he was very surprised to see her there. So he asked him if he had managed to get home safely the previous night, explaining that she had not even been able to say goodbye because she had been extremely drunk. He responded that he had arrived home safely and, after that, inquired about the reason for her visit. Sohei immediately began apologizing, which caught him off guard even more. She explained that she had heard from Sunga that her children had frequently harassed him, and though she could not possibly comprehend the depth of the difficulty and pain he had experienced because of them, she still wanted to offer her apology as the mother of Hyunchul and Sunga. She emphasized repeatedly that she was truly sorry and deeply regretful. He stood there quietly, struggling to understand the reason she, rather than her children, was the one apologizing. Sohei, sensing his confusion, continued speaking. She acknowledged that he might not be able to forgive her children easily, and that the wounds they caused could not be erased quickly, but she had come specifically to ask whether he could, at least for her sake, show some generosity and forgive them. He remained silent, internally questioning the reason she had come to seek reconciliation with him, when even if her children themselves knelt and begged for forgiveness, it would not change the past. He felt a growing sense of anger within himself. Suddenly he spoke, telling her that he would not cancel the yogurt delivery. So he was visibly surprised by his words. Internally, he felt conflicted, and though he was already irritated that someone other than Sunga and Hyunchul was apologizing to him, the fact that it was Sohee herself intensified his frustration even further. Yet despite this internal conflict, he expressed that he wished to continue receiving the yogurt deliveries and politely asked her to proceed with them as usual. Inwardly, he resolved that he could not simply let the situation go unresolved, even if outwardly he appeared calm. The following day, another yogurt delivery lady, Miss Yoonji, arrived at his home. She carefully placed the yogurt in its designated spots and remarked on the oppressive heat, asking whether he did not have an air conditioner and suggesting that he might consider turning it on. He replied casually that he did have an air conditioner, but did not usually feel hot enough to use it. She responded thoughtfully, saying that if that was the case, it could not be helped, though she added that perhaps it was not appropriate to complain about someone else's home, and suggested that they should ideally start the service together. He shook his head and replied that he did not think that would be possible and that he might need to cancel the yogurt delivery entirely. Her reaction was immediate and intense, and she became extremely furious, asking incredulously if he was joking. He assured her firmly that he was not, insisting that he had not wanted the delivery from the very beginning. She shot back, exasperated, telling him that he was being unreasonable, reminding him that she had planned the cardio training because he had signed up for it, and yet he was treating her so disrespectfully. He immediately began apologizing, attempting to calm her anger, but she pressed further, demanding an explanation for the reason he was suddenly cutting the training short and questioning whether he was receiving deliveries from another lady. He clarified carefully that it was not like that at all, explaining that he was dealing with circumstances he could not discuss, and apologized again, suggesting that she should leave for now. In response, she slapped him with such force that he stumbled backwards, lost his balance, and fainted. After regaining his footing, he was taken aback, astonished to see her immediately begin performing the cardio training with him. Yoonji mentioned to Junwoo that they should make an effort to meet more often from now on, implying that spending time together regularly would be a good idea. The following day, Junwoo was sitting in the library, lost in thought, his mind wandering until he gradually returned to focus. He realized that Romy had been calling him repeatedly. Slightly flustered, he asked the reason she had been calling so many times. Romy explained patiently that she had been trying to reach him because he seemed completely spaced out and unresponsive. Feeling a little embarrassed, Junwoo immediately apologized for not noticing her calls earlier. Concerned, Romy asked if something bad had happened, pointing out that he seemed unusually dazed and suggesting that there might be a reason behind it. Junwoo reassured her, insisting that nothing serious was wrong and that it was just an ordinary distraction. Nearby, another friend who was quietly observing the interaction chimed in, mentioning that many assignments and exams were approaching, which could be the cause of his distraction. Junwoo nodded in agreement, acknowledging the stress of the upcoming workload. He then excused himself politely, telling them that he would step outside for a short while to get some fresh air. His friend responded supportively, telling him to take a rest and encouraging him to use the break to relax for a bit. With that, Junwoo began to leave the library, walking toward the exit. Romy watched him go, her expression thoughtful. Turning to her other friends, she said that she would also step outside to get some fresh air. Her friend agreed, remarking that there was a lot to do and teasing her to date in moderation. Romy smiled at the comment, acknowledging it lightly, and then left the room. As Romy walked away, one of the friends quietly remarked that they envied Junwoo. Another friend added that a pretty girl like Romy was being very obvious in showing her affection toward him. A third friend agreed, sharing the same sentiment, and wondered the reason Junwoo and Romy were not together yet, considering how clearly she expressed her feelings. Another friend quickly changed the subject, suggesting that they go outside for a smoke, and everyone agreed, leaving the library. Outside, Romy followed Junwoo, trying to catch his attention. She asked if there had been anything troubling him recently, pointing out that he seemed worried or preoccupied. Junwoo explained calmly that it was not anything serious, that he was simply tired from working on assignments, and urged her not to worry. After saying this, he took a sip of his soda. Romy then suggested, somewhat playfully, that they should finish their assignments quickly so that they could hang out together afterwards. She reminded him that after all the work, they deserved a bit of fun, and mentioned that he had been busy the last time they tried to plan something, so today would be the perfect opportunity. Junwoo responded that he would like to do that, but he explained that he was occupied today as well, making it difficult for him to spend time freely. Romy was taken aback by this, surprised that he was busy again. She expressed her frustration, telling him that he was acting strangely. She added that he rarely texted her these days, and whenever they were together, he always seemed to be lost in thought or distracted, which made her feel ignored. She told him that ever since she had confessed her feelings to him last time, she had noticed that he had changed a lot. She explained that normally, when someone receives a confession, they are expected to respond in some way or take action, but he had done nothing at all, which left her feeling confused and frustrated. Junwoo sat there quietly, smiling softly, trying to reassure her, telling her that it was not like she thought. Still, she pressed him further, insisting that he needed to be completely honest with her. She asked him directly whether he liked her or not, her tone a mixture of curiosity and determination. She added that if he truly did not like her, he could say so, and that she would accept it, but she made it clear that even then, she would not give up on him. Her gaze was steady, searching for sincerity in his expression. Junwoo responded calmly, explaining that he had never said anything like that, and he hoped she would understand his perspective. She, however, grew increasingly frustrated, telling him that she could not comprehend the reason he had remained silent all this time. She warned him not to tell her that he liked someone else, as that thought made her uneasy. Junwoo quickly shook his head, assuring her that it was not the case. Then, trying to ease the tension and move forward, he suggested that they should make plans to hang out the following week, emphasizing that they would definitely spend time together then. She called him mean, a mixture of teasing and exasperation in her voice, and even suggested that they could go to a cafe immediately. Junwoo patiently explained that they needed to focus on studying for their upcoming exams first. He then spoke sincerely, telling her that he really liked her and that he was serious about their relationship. He admitted that he had been extremely busy recently, which was the reason he had not been able to show it properly, and suggested that they start spending more time together beginning next week. He asked her if that would be acceptable, and she nodded, agreeing that it was fine. After that, he proposed that they return to the library to continue their assignments, noting that the break they had taken had lasted much longer than expected. He walked off toward the library, leaving her standing there. As she watched him go, a mix of frustration and confusion filled her mind. She thought to herself that it was incredibly annoying. If he truly liked her, she did not understand the reason he was avoiding her. She felt as though she was the only one anxious in their relationship, left wondering the reason he had left her hanging there. The next day, Sohei went to Junwoo's house to make the yogurt delivery. She rang his doorbell repeatedly, a little anxious, until he finally opened the door, visibly surprised to see her standing there. He asked if she had really come already. Sohei greeted him warmly, saying hello, and he responded with a polite greeting of his own, masking his surprise. Curiously, he asked if she had come solely for the yogurt delivery, and she confirmed that she had. She handed him the yogurt, explaining that it was a new product he should try. Junwoo accepted it, thanking her quietly, and for a moment both of them stood there in silence. The air felt awkward between them. Sohei found it difficult to look at him, her thoughts swirling with memories of Sunga and Hunchul. Every glance at him reminded her of that day when she had revealed far too much, exposing emotions she wished she could take back. She felt a deep sense of embarrassment. Gathering herself, she told him to enjoy the yogurt and, silently, promised herself that she would no longer get involved with him. She added that she would be going now.